So I quit my job. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shayla. If you're not new here, thank you for coming back for another video. Also, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. That's what we're gonna do first. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you can join the fam and you could follow along and keep up with all my little updates that I be coming to give you guys. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you comment because it helps the algorithm and all that good stuff. But if you're new, I'm so happy you're here. And if you're not new, I'm also very happy you're here. And as you heard me before, I have quit my job. So let's get into that a little bit, guys. During January, there was a lot going on, and we're gonna get into that a little bit. We're gonna break it down. But during the month of January, I basically decided to quit my government job. So some of you may have already known that. If you did not know, I have been I was a government employee for the last 4 years. I actually ended up getting my job kind of right after I graduated from undergrad. Probably like 7 or 8 months after I graduated undergrad, I got my government job, and I was there from then. So I spent about 4 years being a government employee, and it was a very rewarding experience. I learned a lot in those 4 years just being a legal assistant in a government agency that I could take to other places as well. I met a lot of great people there, a lot of people that helped me on my journey there. So it was really like a positive experience for me. I did not hate being a government employee or anything like that. Like, my job was cool, it was chill. I was on a work from home schedule because I kind of got hired like in the middle of COVID. So we were fully remote at that point, which I loved. And then we went on a hybrid schedule, like probably like a year and a half after that, during like probably 2022. We went to like a hybrid schedule, which was still cool. Like, we were 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, so it still wasn't bad. But overall, the experience was really good for me. I was kind of feeling these last couple of years like a little bit of stagnation there though. Like, I kind of felt like I peaked in like my skills there and the things that I could do there, and I was really focused on like, okay, how am I gonna like move up and out of this current position, this current legal assistant position that I am in. So that was kind of like my main focus, and also kind of a driving factor of why I went and got my MBA with WGU, which, if you guys have been following me, you know that I'm currently in an online master's program at WGU. And kind of a driving factor, kind of feeling stagnant, kind of feeling like I needed to expand my skills, expand my education, and I wanted to get the MBA in order to further my career at that job. So, and among other things, like just, you know, I like learning and stuff like that, but that was the main driver in me going and getting my MBA, was trying to get a higher position at my job. So during the midst of all of that, so that's kind of what we've been doing for these last 2 years. And I am about to finish my MBA, but I don't want to get sidetracked with that yet. So let's go back to the job and me quitting. So the beginning of this year, right, we all know that man became president, right? So in him becoming president, there were a lot of changes that came down the line to the government. If you've been keeping up with the news, then you might have seen like a little bit of it, but there were just so many changes coming. So I think it was January 20th where he signed an executive order to end work from home. So at least for me, that was like first strike. So meaning he was going to have everyone come back into the office full time. And for a lot of employees, this wasn't my case, but for a lot of employees, they don't really live that close to the office. Like, government offices, they can be very far from like where you live. Like, we're talking 50, 60 miles, you know? So a lot of people weren't really able to come back into the office. Now, although that wasn't my case, I was still affected by this because I'm on a hybrid schedule. Like, I enjoy my schedule that I have. I think that was kind of one of the perks of also being a government employee, because we know not all jobs are offering work from home or hybrid schedules. Like, a lot of jobs do want you to be in the office because they have those office spaces that they're paying for and they want you to be there, butts in seats, right? So part of the reason that kept me with the government so long was because they offered kind of that work-life balance with the work from home, and eliminating that was kind of like, ooh, red flaggish for me. So that was kind of the first thing that happened with his executive order. The next thing was the hiring freeze. So inside of the government, there are ways that you can move up laterally, and he basically put a halt on that. So it was going to be essentially no new promotion. So as I said previously, the main reason for me getting my MBA was to potentially get a promotion. So you putting a halt on that, and I don't know when it's going to end, that also was the second thing that gave me cause for, maybe I should start thinking of like what my next move is going to be. Even though I already had been, just in case, like I always played with the idea of maybe leaving the government, finding something else, doing something else, but it was just, there were perks there. And in January, all of those perks seemed to become null and void. So like I said, hiring freeze, promotion freeze, no new people coming in, and no new promotions will be given out. So that was the next thing for me that made me just like not like the way this was going. And then lastly was the reduction in force. So the reduction in force is basically going to be layoffs. So essentially they wanted to reduce the government. And don't ask me why. I don't know why. I don't know why he wants to reduce government, but that's his prerogative. So that was the next thing coming down the line. So a lot of the probationary employees that we had, people who have been there less than a year, you know, they have to complete their full year before they're not technically a probationary employee. A lot of them were really worried because the reduction in force could potentially affect them. And there was just so much uncertainty, guys. Like, if you are a fellow government employee, then you probably felt the uncertainty that I'm talking about right now. There was literally so much uncertainty, so much worry. People were worried about their job, worried about what's going to happen next, worried about whether the contracts that we had stating that we had work from home were going to remain in place or were going to be overturned. Because the government agency that I was in, we were kind of thinking, oh, we weren't going to get hit. But needless to say, that was not the case. We got hit. And all of those things, those three main things were just like, wow, this is turning into maybe a situation that I don't necessarily want to be in. So after all of that, I think it was about a week later, they came out with what was called the deferred resignation. And, you know, whether you're a government employee or not, you can, you know, Google all this and like see everything that was going on if you weren't privy to it before. I just happened to be one of those people also affected, but they offered something called the deferred resignation, which was essentially a buyout offer that the administration proposed to government employees. So essentially it was basically saying like, hey, if you don't want to deal with all of this, then go ahead and sign this deferred resignation, and basically as of September 30th, this upcoming September 30th, you will no longer be a federal employee. So that kind of gave people 6 to 7 months to look for a new job. You would still retain your benefits, but you would be on a deferred resignation, meaning you wouldn't have to report to the office unless like dire need or something of that sort. And essentially you wouldn't be subject to the changes that are basically coming down the pipeline. So that was just like your, I guess, get out of jail free card, if that's what you want to call it. But that's what they offered to everybody. I believe everybody had the option of whether they wanted to take it or not. And honestly, it felt like a really pressured situation. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Like I said, if you're a government employee and you was in there, then you know. It was a very pressured situation. There were a lot of different opinions. This is something that has kind of never been done before. Or I think it's been done maybe once before, but not on this scale. Like, there was so much uncertainty. People saying like, oh, they're not gonna honor the terms of the agreement. They're not gonna uphold their end of the bargain. Some people were saying like, yeah, they are gonna uphold their end of the bargain. It went to court. It was upheld, and you know, people were still very uncertain about it. There was just so much chatter, so much worry, and it was honestly like a very rough time. If I'm being honest, like, it was not fun at all. For me, it was a little easier to make my decision just because I am still young, quotation marks on young, and I don't, like, I'm not scared to pivot. I'm not scared to try new things and in that moment, like, I was already thinking, like, I feel stagnant at my job. Like, I want a new job. I want to try something new. Like, I just didn't think the government was my end all be all. Like, this is going to be my last stop. Like, even I was thinking of, pursuing another career, maybe coming back to government. Like, you never know. So once that came through the pipeline, after all those changes, I was kind of just like, well, maybe this is my blessing in disguise to have an exit, and have a better exit that I could potentially have maybe months later after staying at this job and realizing, okay, I'm so unhappy coming in every day. The reduction in force, they're getting rid of people, they're not hiring any new people, so the work is probably going to overload. Let's be real. People want to fire people, and they don't want to hire people, and then they want the people that stay to be stressed. And I was just like, no, honestly, and truthfully, like, y'all not paying me enough to continue to deal with all of this. To be honest, I was just thinking, like, this is probably my blessing in disguise. I consulted with my family, I consulted with my man, I consulted with my friends, a bunch of mixed reviews, and it was really something that was kind of unprecedented. Like, definitely understand the mixed reviews, because you don't know, and we don't know if we could trust that man. So there were just so many opinions up in the air, so many things, but ultimately I decided to quit my job. I decided to resign from my government position, and now we're here. So with all of that being said, what is next for me? And what's next is me finding my dream job, quote unquote my dream job, because I do not dream of labor, y'all. Like, I don't dream of labor. And I go back and forth with that. It's really hard, honestly. I go back and forth with that because it's like, I do have aspirations in careers, but I also have aspirations outside of careers. So it's really hard to balance, like, what is that dream job? But I've come to the realization that my dream job is getting my dream situation if I do have to work. I want to pay for things. I want to provide for myself. I want to get myself to where I'm going. I want to have money to fund my businesses and stuff like that. So right now I have to work. There's not really a reality where I could just sit around and not work, which, even if I didn't have a job, I don't think I would sit around and just not do anything, but that's just not the reality. So my reality is finding my dream job in my dream situation, which basically aligns with my dream pay, my dream company or ideal company that I want to work at, the ideal values that I want that company to uphold, and just being somewhere where I feel like my work is valued. I feel like I'm learning, and I feel like I have opportunities to grow. So that's kind of what's next for me, is just finding that nothing's perfect. So I don't even want to say perfect, but just a great situation for me that's going to be my next step. So on March 7th, I was no longer technically a government employee. Technically, I still have until September 30th, until my resignation is like in full effect. But right now I do not have to report to my office, and I'm very happy with my decision. I just know for me, this was the best decision for my situation. And I'm really excited and looking towards the future for what's like the next step for me. I'm looking to find a role where I can just continue to grow my experience and go from there. Right now, I am putting feelers out, keeping my options open, and just seeing what that next opportunity is gonna be for me, all while finishing up my MBA. This is like officially my last term. I think I've like dragged it out as long as I could have. And there were like reasons for that. Like I said, initially when I went into my MBA, I wanted to finish in 1 year. Bada boom, bada bing. Then there were other factors like student loan repayment and things like that that made me think, okay, maybe take my time, because I do work full time. Like, I don't want to stress myself out trying to finish in a year and do all of that, and for what? And then I'm gonna just have to pay my loans quicker. I did touch on that like in a previous video, but there were kind of a bunch of reasons that, I just decided to take my time and just go through it as I go through it. But this is going to be my last term, because I like school, but like, I don't like school, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I don't want to have to worry about it anymore. So I'm literally kicked into high gear. I need to take 2 exams literally this weekend and the next weekend, and I'll bring you guys kind of along like how I'm kind of like crash studying for that just to get that out the way. And then I have my MBA capstone class, which is a couple of different things you have to do. For that class. But I really just want to focus on that in May and June to kind of make sure I finish by June 30th. So that's kind of just like how I have everything planned out. Literally only have 2 tests and my MBA capstone class to do. That's it. And then I am done. Literally, finito, done. But probably not done with school altogether because, surprise, surprise, shout out Jessie Woo, I want to go to law school. And it's like, you guys know the videos where they're like, yeah, probably needed a hug, but instead I went and got another degree. And that's literally probably what's going on right now, but we moved, literally. And going to law school was something that I always thought about doing when I was younger. Literally, like my whole life, I thought I was gonna be a lawyer. And when I got to after undergrad, I was just kind of like burnt out, to be honest. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it was probably burnout I was experiencing. And I was just like, whoa, studying for the LSAT, applying again for school, like that's just not something that I want to do. And honestly, I'm grateful for the MBA program because that's something that kind of helped me probably get back into that school mindset of being like, okay, like it's not that bad. I'm older now, I'm more responsible, like I could do this. And I've also just been thinking in terms of my career lately, like what's my next steps and leaving this job. And I want to kind of be, I guess, at the height of my field. And for me, being a lawyer is that. I think being a legal assistant is great. I think being a paralegal is great. But ultimately, I kind of do want to be at the top of my field, the highest I can go. I want to see if I can achieve that. And I think I can. So stay tuned for that arc. Okay, that's the next arc coming up. We've been in our MBA arc for a little minute. That's going to be the next arc that's probably coming. So stay tuned for that. If you guys are in law school, if you're aspiring to go to law school and you got any tips, please leave them down below because your girl needs all the help she can get. I'll literally be the first one in my family going to law school, attempting to be a lawyer. So this is like all for the first time for me. And I can use all the help I can get, like I said. So that's just basically an update with me. I'm like super optimistic about the future and like where my life is going to take me. And I'm super excited to see how I continue to grow as a person when I continue to learn. And I'm bringing you guys along the journey. I just wanted to come say what's up, give y'all an update what's going on my life. Things have been hectic and yeah. So that's the update for now. Quit my job and trying to find my dream life. Literally. So yeah, if you guys have made it to the end, make sure you give a thumbs up. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment down below any law school tips, tricks, any career tips, tricks. You know what I'm saying? Any tips for resume, any questions you guys have. And make sure you subscribe for another video and to watch me find my dream life. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.